gonna yell. Sometimes I think they are. I see her.
States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, crap it up, crap it up.
Call this meeting first for the city council to order. Madam Clerk, the roll call, please.
Mr. McCready?
Here.
Ms. Poole?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Present.
Ms. Tuck? Here. Mr. Huffman?
Present.
Mr. Rexroad?
Here.
Mr. Polkowski?
Here.
Ms. Daly? Here. Mr. Reynolds?
Present. Council, the minutes of our previous meeting have been presented to you. Do you have any additions or corrections?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Are there any questions from council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Actually, I'm sorry.
Oh, Dr. Daly, go ahead.
I just wanted to make you aware that when I was talking to Connie prior to the meeting, the agenda is not on the PKB website. If it is, I can't find it. So we're gonna make that correction as soon as possible, because it stops at 2023. So all of 24 and 25 are not on there, so we'll fix that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Mr. McCready?
Yes.
Ms. Poole?
Yeah.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Tuck?
Yes.
Mr. Huffman?
Yes.
Mr. Rexroad?
Yes.
Mr. Polkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes. Do we have any reports from standing or special committees tonight?
Mr. President,
Mrs. Tuck.
the Tree Commission met last week. They are discussing plans for Arbor Day, celebrating Arbor Day. I think that's April 25th. They plan to plant a willow tree at the state park on the south side. And they're also planning a plaque in honor of Turner Sharp, who was on the Tree Commission for a long time, did an excellent job. Those were the two main things that came up in that meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other reports from standing or special committees tonight?
Mr. President,
Dr. Daly.
just want to let you know that Thursday we'll be meeting with the auditor from the state to accept the audit and review it from last year, 2024.
Thank you.
What time?
Anyone?
3 o'clock.
Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll move on to the public forum. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak tonight?
We have two. The first one is Brian Hayden, followed by Renee Ingram.
Okay, our public forum is now open. Our public forum is 40 minutes total in length, and each speaker will have 4 minutes to speak.
On the agenda tonight is a single vote to change the dates of the April meeting. I am given to understand that this change is to comply with regulations on approval, adoption, and submission of the city budget. Having referred to the city charter, I am at a loss to find the appropriate statute. Having no further publicly available information for the agenda, I am again at a loss. I have also been told that the council is bound by Robert's Rules of Order for conducting our public meetings. I am again struggling to find the correct documentation as adopted by the city of Parkersburg. I will defer to Robert's Rules of Order and make my comments within the rules of decorum and to topics germane to the body's duties. The city of Parkersburg is governed by statutes and charter and by West Virginia state law to communicate with public on its official positions. Any publication made by city officials becomes the official position of the city and by representation, its residents. The most recent official statement by the city was released this morning about another residential fire that included far more information than this city's
Mr. Hayden, so our meeting, the public forum is about agenda items. So if you can keep it to agenda items, what we're going to be voted on tonight.
The most recent official statement by the city was released this morning about another residential fire, including far more information about the city's
Mr.
position
Hayden.
on that incident
Mr. Hayden.
than this agenda does.
Once again,
The statement
that's not an
included,
agenda item, so
society must stop making excuses.
we will ask you to stop, or
and
we'll have
hold
you
them
removed.
accountable for their decisions and actions.
So you'll be removed from chambers if you can't follow.
My name is Brian Hayden. I am an alcoholic. I hid my disease in shame for many years before seeking treatment. I was ashamed because of the examples of how the public treats people with addiction. My name is Brian. I have PTSD. I hid my mental illness. Unless you arrested me, officer, I would ask you to please.
I will be if you don't stop, okay? You've been
And
asked to
I'm
leave.
under arrest.
You will be for trespassing if
Sir.
you don't leave. You will be for trespassing.
I do not consent to you touching me.
Okay, I'm going to have to arrest you if you don't leave on your own power.
What would be the charge?
Trespassing. They ask you to leave, you gotta leave. Thank you.
Next is Renee Ingram.
Since the dates are of topic for the month of April for City Council, I just wanted to read some important details about April 15th. It has a more profound implication than just National Tax Day. Many people on the 15th will be frantically finishing their personal taxes and rushing late to the post office to get the required postmark for a timely filing. A long forgotten fact is that April 15th at 7:22 a.m., Abraham Lincoln succumbed to a fatal gunshot wound. Lincoln,
Ma'am, is this about an agenda item only? That's what we're not talking about President Lincoln and his death tonight.
Let her speak.
It's not the rules. The rules of the city council sets the rules, so you can talk about what's on the agenda.
It's about the death of
Okay, we're not talking about
public
that tonight.
forum
We're not talking about that tonight.
on April 15th.
Okay, and you'll be removed as well, ma'am, if you can't follow the rules of the council. Doesn't matter. You're not signed up to talk.
That's the last one, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, public forum's closed. We probably don't have a message from the executive since the mayor's wasn't able to be here tonight. So can we move on to resolution number 1, please?
A resolution stating that city council meetings for April shall be the 15th and 22nd, 2025.
We have a motion.
Make a motion to approve this resolution, please.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have any questions from council?
Mr. President,
Mrs. Cooley.
I'd like to make an amendment. Since we have to have our meeting on April the 15th to levy the levy, according to state law, we have to do that to get our budget charts. We cannot change that date. I would like to make an amendment to change April 22nd to April the 8th.
Okay, so repeat your amendment and change.
April 22nd to April the 8th.
So the two meetings will be the 8th and the 15th.
The meetings would be the 8th and the 15th.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to change the dates for April. Are there any questions from council? Can we get the vote on the amendment, please?
Mr. McCready?
Yes.
Ms. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Tuck?
Yes.
Mr. Huffman?
Yes.
Mr. Rexroad?
Yes.
Mr. Polkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Daly? Yes. Mr. Reynolds?
Yes. Now, as amended, please.
Mr. McCready?
Yes.
Ms. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Tuck?
Yes.
Mr. Huffman?
Yes.
Mr. Rexroad?
Yes.
Mr. Polkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes. Motion passes. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
That's too many yeses.
We stand adjourned.
They have a URA next.
7 minutes.
7 minutes? Yeah, we'll start the URA in about
7 minutes.
She had? I don't know. Well, no, that would be the one I'll tell you later. That's not even figure out. Yeah.
Great. It will last longer than I'll even be. That tree's gonna die. I know from experience. I've been doing this for a long time. It's gonna die. Especially in that area as a floodplain, you put 5 feet of water up against that in the park. From there down, there's gonna be a rail. See you later. You know, when you see the pictures of the big talks in the city in the spring, you see that they have all of this. What do you think? I think they're great.
Yeah, it was like crazy.
I'd like to call this URA meeting of March 25th to order. Ms. Connie, roll please.
Mr. McCready? Here. Ms. Blue? Here. Mr. Brown?
Present.
Ms. Tuck? Here. Mr. Huffman?
Here.
Mr. Reynolds?
Present.
Mr. Borkowski?
Here.
Ms. Daly? Here. Mr. Rexroad?
Here. I believe the clerk has an announcement, a proclamation to read that we missed earlier.
Yes, I missed this in the city council meeting, and thank you for letting me read it because it's very important. It's a proclamation that Mayor Joyce gave me today. Whereas every day without fame or fanfare, women inspire, support, and strengthen their families, communities, in our country. Women's History Month presents an opportunity to celebrate the tremendous impact women continue to have on our nation, our city, and our great state of West Virginia. Whereas I am especially proud to acknowledge and celebrate the dedicated and talented females of my administration. They are committed to making a better Parkersburg, as well as dedicated public servants who work diligently to serve our city. Furthermore, I join President Trump and Governor Morrissey and recognize that women are biologically female and men are biologically male. Now therefore I, Thomas T. Joyce, Mayor of Parkersburg, do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Women's History Month. I call on all residents to celebrate the exceptional women in their lives and throughout the community. It takes no action. Thank you for letting me read that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Minutes were distributed for the meeting on February 25th. Are there any additions or corrections?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Reynolds?
move to adopt the minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on the minutes? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, the roll please.
Mr. McGrady?
Yes.
Ms. Cool?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Tuck? Yes. Mr. Huffman?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Borkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Rexroad?
Yes. Moving on to public forum. If there is anyone that would like to speak on 1316 Oak Street or the discussion regarding the LRA, please step to the mic now.
My name is Laura
Hold
Eckert.
that mic toward you, so you get it away. It's okay.
My name is Laura Eckert. I want to buy that property over there at 1316 Oak Street, and my long-term goal is to put 3 houses there that are small. 2 that are 1 story, and 1 that might be 2 stories to house people that are less fortunate in this community that don't have housing options. And 1 year I expect to put 1 home on it. I have SSDI, so I plan to utilize my funding for that, and I have people that can help me put in electrical work and everything on the property.
I'll reserve my questions whenever it comes up on the agenda.
Thanks, ma'am. Do you have anything else to add, or?
when you use it, we can.
Hello.
There we go.
Get real close to it.
I will. This parcel is incredibly narrow, making it more difficult to develop on, but not impossible. I think Laura is a really unique applicant for this specific lot because of her plan to, her application said to develop a home on it. This home would have to be small in nature, at least 16 feet wide. If she wanted it to be 70 feet long, you know, but up to her liking from there. With that being said, it being a smaller home and position on this lot, it fits within that neighborhood and the 2030 comprehensive plan to develop this specific district. And if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Okay.
So it has everything capable to be able to do anything and develop it for us on home?
Yeah.
Water, sewer, electric, it's all
Yes.
safe.
I have, Mr. Chair,
Ms. Gould?
I have a couple of questions of the applicant. I noticed in your application that you said that I would like to purchase this property to build a home for myself in the next 2 years with my own personal finances. And then tonight you tell us you want to build 2 small homes on it for the less fortunate. Which is it?
Both. I want to build a small one-story home for myself, and then over time, like 5 or 10 years, I want to build 2 other homes that are small like that as well. But short term, I want to build my own property like that.
Okay, and what financing are you going to have for this?
My SSDI income, and I have really good friends that will help me work on the property to put in the electrical work and put in the water and all of that. And they're offering me they're pretty much pennies on the dollar.
Pretty much what?
Pennies on the dollar.
Step up to the microphone. There you go.
Yeah.
I have friends that are offering to help me with repair, with putting in the electrical work and things like that on the property for pretty much no money. I've already talked to them about it.
Talk to
My friends that are gonna help me with actually installing electric work and things that are above my, expertise.
I would like to make a note, just for you to know that if you're gonna do any electrical work, it needs to be done by a licensed electrical contractor.
Yeah.
Or when you get your permit, they just won't give you one if it's not repaired.
Right.
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
You have the finances for your SSDI to be able to do permitting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Gould?
Ryan, is that lot big enough for 3 houses?
You wouldn't be permitted to build 3.
You what?
You would not be permitted to build 3 structures. City council passed an ordinance to provide accessory dwelling units, so you have a primary structure and conceivably have an accessory structure in the rear of the property. It just has to be the same size or smaller. So you could have a primary structure, 1 story, and then build a massive 2-story in the back. Again, because of the lot size and the meet setbacks, the home has to be very narrow. Long but narrow. You don't want to build. So there was a home here previously, and if you looked at old images of existing homes, gutters are basically touching the neighbor's home. We don't want that. Chief Matthews doesn't want that again. So we do want to meet setbacks so it's safe for fire protection. So she can build narrow but long, but probably not three homes.
And doesn't it have to be so far back off of the street?
Yes, it has to be 5 feet on each side. So one would probably be the only property that could fit in.
I believe she's talking about your front and backyard setbacks. It's gonna give you setback 25 feet from the front and 35 in the back. That's what I was saying. She still has 70
Okay,
feet.
I did not know that.
You're good. She still has 70 feet though. That is very narrow and long.
I just heard that it had to be 5 feet.
bust anybody's bubble, but I see a lot of problems with this. Number one, I can't vote to sell anybody a piece of property for $100. I just can't. Like I mentioned in meetings before, if we're going to do that, we'll just start giving away property for Christmas as Christmas presents. But the other thing is, not only the electrical has to be done by a licensed contractor, but also the plumbing and also the heat and the air has to be. So I don't know if you've got a lot of buddies. I mean, if you've got friends that are licensed, but
What?
so I guess she withdraws her $100 offer.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. I was at that property today, and I just feel we need to look at all this property before they're sold. That is a very nice flat lot. But while I was there, I run into the neighbor that lives facing the street. The gentleman lives on the right-hand side. And he said, and I introduced myself, what I was doing. And he said, I had no idea that piece of property was for sale right above. He said, hey, because he said, look how crammed in we are right there. And the gentleman, I believe, because he has, he told me 4 other rental homes in the area and stuff. And during the discussion, and back when I was on council before, 17 years ago, 1920, I urged our urban rental authority then, back then, to put signs on these properties so people know that things are for sale. He had there was no sign on these properties. Absolutely no. And I still ask that we should put signs on all these properties. I didn't have to put no big billboard or anything like that, but we just need to put an informational sign on these properties.
Right, can you explain how we do the signage cases? We did pass that, and we have been doing it.
We have 7 new signs going up this week, actually, so that's good timing. But you own over 50 lots. I wouldn't propose putting 50 signs because several that you own are likely undevelopable or difficult to develop. But I think, strategically, you place a dozen signs on a dozen properties. But I like the suggestion. Previous chair, Poole, made that a discussion that we acted on last year.
Sure. Ms. Brown.
I was on council 2013 to 2017. And I was taking on paying God. If it cost $10,000, tear the house down, it's $10,000 bottom line to buy that property. I'm not in the business to tear it down and give it a place. That's where I stand. And I'm not going to do anything unless the price is lower or down.
Ain't nobody gonna pay $10,000 for that.
Call for the vote since
We don't have a motion on the floor.
No motion, yes.
All right, moving on to other business before the authority. Before we get started on the discussion on the LRA, I just wanted to report on a meeting that Mr. Barber, Mr. Borkowski, and myself had yesterday with Pickering Associates regarding the property at 714 Market Street. We have authorized them to do a facility condition and needs assessment on that property, basically to give any investors or developers kind of a list of what's good, what's bad, what needs attention, so that they're more informed on their bids. Ryan?
Excuse me, Mr. Rector.
Yes.
Will they present that to us or Ryan will present it to us once that is
Yes,
completed?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Pickering has started work now. They plan to be done middle to late May, so I'd like to present that to Chair Rex Road and share that amongst you all. But essentially, that's a needs assessment to look at all the major building systems in the structure, from the foundation to the roof and everything in between, to identify critical repairs needed, moderate repairs needed, and things that we don't have to currently think about. So you all own this piece of property. It's a big piece of property. The private market, found it difficult to redevelop and reinvest in. So we have this asset here. I think it's important to know what it will take to bring in a big scale developer and redevelop it. So we'll know the condition of the roof, the age of the roof, how much it's likely to cost, things like that, the electric, plumbing, the elevator, the ADA, the sprinkler system, all those major building systems. All right, so before we start talking a little bit about membership, composition of the URA and the LRA. So essentially this meeting kind of came about, this is simply informational and for discussion purposes. We're not asking for any votes, but this is just to kind of start a conversation for you all. So in January with the incoming URA chairperson, Talia, Rick, and I met to see if this was something that we wanted to bring forth and have this conversation. We've had it a number of times over the years. So Chris, had mentioned Mr. Rexford and said he was supportive of at least having this conversation. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the URA, what it is, and talk about land reuse agencies. So obviously, as you know, the URA primary purpose is to redevelop properties, either a specific property in a specific neighborhood or large-scale, widespread blight mitigation and targeting entire blocks of neighborhoods. So the city of Carter brings a long history with urban renewal and also eminent domain. So we look at a specific section of state code here, which is kind of interesting, and it kind of is very kind of black and white. It talks about the composition and the membership of a URA, and it very clearly states that membership is comprised of no less than 5, no more than 7 members, right? Because the URA has established their bylaws and the redevelopment plan to be the entire city, Rob TV feels relatively comfortable, and obviously this has been going on for a long time, that the membership is fine. There was an Attorney General decision back in the 70s that we think permits membership of all 9 members of City Council. But we do see a lot of municipalities around the state. You all had a hand up this evening to talk about a growing trend of land reuse agencies, right? So LRAs are becoming much more popular, and urban renewal authorities not so much. Not most, but several cities are no longer using URAs. So I'll talk a little bit about the advantages of URA, why they're good, right? So obviously there's been a lot of positives that the URA has accomplished over the past several years and decades. The URA is tax exempt. We have 714 Market Street, and we have an ability to hold that property and not pay a significant tax burden like another real estate developer would, right? So we have time on our hands to think thoughtfully about how to redevelop that piece of property. So obviously 714 Market Street was a major commercial property that you have. 1954 7th Street, the former Economy Inn property, was a major investment from this URA, tackling public health and safety and blight mitigation, putting that back into productive use with a large-scale commercial redevelopment. So that's a really good project. 1301 Avery Street was acquired by eminent domain. That was a major health concern and serious blight on the neighborhood. And another good example that showed a lot of leadership from the URA was the corner of Dudley and 19th Street. Again, large-scale commercial property that was demolished and that is now being redeveloped into a commercial business in a neighborhood that desperately needs reinvestment. So those are all really good examples of the leadership that URA has shown over the years. Challenges, because this is not unknown to the URA, but challenges are it's very time-consuming, right? Things take time. Public meetings and legal ads and notices and eminent domain and going through these steps are not quick. Okay, so that is a challenge that I think we're all well aware at this point. Generally, when Kalea is presenting you a property, whether that's through a donation or a sale or a purchase application, you are dealing with properties with very checkered backgrounds. Titles of that property are usually very difficult, right? There are liens and judgments and lots of things that make the property messy and difficult for a private individual to purchase that right. They usually aren't developed or sold or transferred without trying to do that first. They end up with you all because they are so challenged. All right, so land reuse agency. What is an LRA? So that's kind of a relatively new term. State code had changed the code back in 2021. So that's why we do see a rise in popularity of land reuse agencies. The primary function of a land reuse agency is to take tax delinquent abandoned properties and put those back into productive use. I personally think of URA in my head as commercial redevelopment, and land reuse agencies being more residential in nature. It doesn't have to be, certainly. That's just kind of how my brain processes the difference. LRAs, the biggest distinction between a URA and an LRA is the power of eminent domain. URAs have that power. LRAs do not. Some cities have totally moved away from exercising that right. Some cities have never had that right and are happy not to have had it. Morgan County is a basic example that strategically has never had an urban renewal authority, had no interest in exercising that power. They also have obviously a different set of bylaws and redevelopment plans. So an LRA could have a very targeted approach where that organization is separate and making a very concerted effort in redeveloping XYZ neighborhood or a certain thoroughfare, right? Where you all know your redevelopment plan of URA is citywide. So you're kind of putting out fires where they are, as opposed to putting all the eggs in one basket, looking at one section, one street, or one neighborhood. So looking at benefits. So again, we're talking a little bit about membership and what membership of the URA could look like, pros and cons. We think right now having composed of all 9 members of City Council it certainly has its pros and benefits, but could have some negatives.
Yes, I did.
Like a diverse perspective, right? Lots of other boards and organizations that we serve on. The PTA is an example. The Tree Commission, right? That is a very small example. Membership of the Tree Commission is composed of individuals with a diverse background and a strong commitment to preserving the tree canopy, right? Our 3 architectural review boards are composed strategically of individuals that think about preserving, preservation, conservation of historic properties, right? They also reside in that neighborhood, and they have vested interest to see those properties strategically redeveloped. Our planning commission, by code, talks about fairly representing different industries on that board, right? They talk about business, industry, labor, government, other relevant disciplines that compose that organization and bring different perspectives, right? We have somebody from the development authority, we have an engineer, we have an appraiser, we have a real estate individual that I think bring good conversation to that group and helps us. Mr. Mercer is a member of that board, and I think it's successful because of that diverse membership.
Excuse me, Ryan. That's Mr. McCready.
I'm sorry. Mr. McCready.
You're lucky. I had to go back.
Oh, gosh. I'm sorry. Yes. If you can go to, so talk about long-term strategic vision. It's no secret that redevelopment for commercial property and property in general takes time, right? We've sat now at 714 Market Street for 18 months. I don't envision, that's going to be a long road. We're going to have to be very strategic and take our time redeveloping that. So it's a benefit of you already have that time to sit and strategically think. But redevelopment sometimes can take years and years and years, and sometimes can go between election cycles.
That's why they
All right, so the handout you saw today talked about
I guess they all left.
membership of LRAs and URAs around the state. Okay, The one thing you'll notice there is they're all very unique, very diverse, right? There are 7 ERAs in West Virginia, and they're trending down. So there is 7, but I think 2 or 3 of them no longer operate. Okay, so they're moving downward, whereas LRAs are kind of gaining popularity. There was just 2 back in 18. Now there's 16. Those are just 2 examples of how other municipalities structure their land use agency. I'm not going to read through the slides. You all have those in front of you. Yeah, so this is not a new concept. This isn't the first time that we've had this conversation. Rob and I were looking through previous minutes, agendas, and we could find at least 3 separate times that my predecessor or other administrations have had this conversation. It's always been somewhat contentious. Sometimes we have moved in that direction, and several times we haven't. Right. So back in '98 was the first time that I found a conversation like that. So we talked about reconstituting the Urban Renewal Authority, 25 plus years ago, and restructuring how the membership looks. Right. So we were having a conversation. I forget who was involved in that conversation from the city's perspective, but they proposed changing it from 9 councilors, obviously, down to 4, with 3 other residents of the city. So that did not pass back in the 90s. Much more recently, back in 2019, again, we tried to reconstitute membership of the Urban Renewal Authority by going down to 7 members. Obviously, you do want an odd number of members to be, that's an important part of board makeup. And you can kind of see how that was comprised. And most recently, I don't know if everyone remembers this, so back in 2020, the City Council did pass an ordinance to create a land use agency, right? So that did pass, went through the minutes and did pass unanimously at the time, with 5 voting members. You can kind of see what that membership looked like at the time. So, today we could move in that direction, obviously, right now, but that still would need a vote from the City Council. They would need, bylaws and a structure and all that good stuff to be very thoughtful to move in that direction. And obviously, money, right? City Council appropriates money. You have the purse strings. City Council appropriates money to the URA, and potentially a land use agency.
I'm ready to go to
Yeah.
bed.
So this is not a position that the development office and plan development. We're not going to take a strong position either way. My office is excited and eager to work with anybody. I'm happy. I've enjoyed working with all of you. And this could be the one and only time we talk about it, right? And I could never say it ever again if you don't want me to, right? Or we could have a much more detailed conversation over the next several months. So, yeah, I'd be happy to kind of have a discussion or answer questions or whatever.
Mr. Chair,
This is cool.
I think the LRA is the way that URA needs to move. Because right now, we're in a stalemate. The only thing that URA is doing is selling properties. We don't even know the appraised value of it. We paid for that. Tearing down buildings, old houses. And those are basically, those are the 3 basic things that we're doing. But unfortunately, and not that is not a very important part of the progress of Parkersburg, but we're not growing. We don't have, none of us on city council has any background in real estate, banking. We need members, I really feel, if we do the LRA, who's going to want to, number one, get investors for our city, who wants to build, who wants to take properties that we have. I mean, I would love to see that.
Start giving them away.
Just one block of veterans homes, but we can't do that. There's so many things that this can do that we can't do. Financing, we have someone on who is much is it? Over $1 million. Facility down there, that's just amazing. It's amazing. And they did it with bond, and they did it because they were the LRA. And I would like to see, and I hope Councilor agrees with me, to me, if we change the URA to LRA, it's a growth. We're growing. We're saying, hey, we've done all we can, and Lord knows we've tore down enough properties. I think it's almost 300 houses, we've sold properties, and we've done what we can getting people to build, but an LRA can take it from here to the level that we're at to the level we want to be at. And I don't feel have the expertise to do that. I just wish it's something that City Council would consider, and that we do have another discussion about this, because I really think it's very important for our city to grow.
And you could certainly transition to an LRA, but you all still own, 100 parcels of property, right? So that option is certainly possible, but then you could be duplicating your efforts, right? You could be having double meetings, right? So you could be talking about the LRA one night, and then having an applicant like Ms. Eckert come to apply to purchase URA-owned property. So that's an option, something to be aware of. A URA can transfer property to the LRA, but not property that has ever at one point been acquired by eminent domain, right? So that has to remain under URA for indefinitely.
Mr. Barr, for some of the newer members on council and to the URA, correct me if I'm wrong, but the URA as it stands now gives us the ability to obtain property through urban domain, where an LRA would not have that option.
Right.
So if we want to go and we want to say we want to buy a whole block of property, we can do that. The URA has the power to do that, where the LRA would not have the power to do that.
That's correct. So, yeah, exactly.
Mr. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're good. Just a few questions here. While we're on the record, I do want to say I own a real estate title company, so I do have real estate background. I'm very serious about what's on the record. Number two, what about specifically about the URA is stopping these projects versus like going with an LRA? I guess it didn't click with me. Like the projects that you were saying we could possibly get into with the LRA, what about the URA stopping us from getting there?
Nothing specifically. I think the URA has shown lots of leadership in mitigating blight, but I think sometimes we've stopped at just mitigating blight. LRAs, this school talked about other examples of other municipalities or LRAs where they're redeveloping property. So there's lots of other examples of things that these organizations can do, and I think maybe it's just, thinking about it a bit behind.
Okay, so it would be your opinion though that going to the LRA you would have more opportunity or not necessarily?
I don't want to make that, statement. I think, this body can do that now, right? There's nothing that prohibits you from doing that.
Right, I think I could speak to that. I think there's a little bit of confusion. An LRA primarily was established to acquire tax-issued properties and consolidate. Basically gives the cities or the LRA through the city get first crack on its latent tax property. But you still have to jump through all the hoops and do the due process and the former owners and acquire the property that way.
Nothing
I
important.
think what Brian is talking about for the URA, which is what you are now, is the provision in the code originally basically said that the community itself could establish itself as the urban renewal authority, but then it went on to suggest in the code that it actually be comprised of, for lack of a better word, knowledgeable people. And they set out a mechanism where you had certain members and staggered membership and that sort of thing. And I think that's what Ryan was getting to as far as urban renewal.
I'm ready to go to bed.
The personal opinion that urban renewal has the same authority to act as an LRA and acquire these tax properties. So you don't necessarily have to have old enough to remember when we reconstituted that in the mid-90s, was the original thought was to have community people based on the appointment of council people to serve on that board as the urban renewal authority instead of council members themselves. So that's what we're getting to. So, you know, Zach has some real estate experience. You know, we had another Zach one time here that was a banker. Those folks are fine, but you can also draw from the community to serve on that board, and that would be a meeting that wouldn't necessarily have to happen after council meeting every time either. So, but I think if anybody has any questions about that, I'm open to talk to you about it. But I think to a certain extent, you all talked this evening apples and oranges a little bit, so I wanted to straighten you out on that a little bit.
Yeah, so the LRA is gaining a lot of popularity with that structure change in the legislature, right? So LRAs have become much more active during delinquent tax sales, and the URA has as well. So we've followed suit. We've exercised our right of first refusal numerous times at last year's tax sale, and actually we're planning to discuss right of first refusal next month as another kind of informal discussion topic. But URA is acting as if it were an LRA. They're using the same powers that LRAs have.
Mr. Chairman? Just for a second.
She's sitting before you.
Can you already, buy bonds?
I'd have to look that up.
Because I know an LRA can, but I don't think us, as council, as a URA, and my whole point about the LRA was, they can buy the bonds, we can't. That's how they're doing the big project in Charleston. I know we don't have a lot of money in the URA budget, but I guarantee you we'd have enough money making bond payment every year.
Well, there are other entities who are capable of issuing bonds too. You have the building commission for one, that we've used recently, as a matter of fact, for firehouses and the recreation building. I'd have to pull the code to see whether the URA actually has that authority. It may. But
We
you
like
have
to
have
go
a revenue
out here
source in order to finance
about
the
living in
bonds.
Parkersburg.
That's the thing.
I guess the one final thing, I didn't want to just call your attention to the other structures, right? So Parkersburg, you know, for better or for worse, is unique. There are no other municipalities in the state that this way. So, you know, that just took a little bit of research on it, but wanted to share the findings with y'all.
This is David.
I did about 20 fill them out.
I've never been in this state, we could go through it. Because I'm semi-new, staff member, I'm a girl in the committee, and I don't have any real estate experience except owning homes. My understanding is we could, when you talk about reconstitution, I'm assuming what you're saying is restructure the people on the URA to include people of knowledgeable information, whether it's architectural, banking, bonds, whatever, put that group together in an odd number.
Between 5 and 7.
Between 5 and 7. And then utilize that for a period of time, whatever the council would determine, so like you give it a year. And so almost you could either do that, and if that works, you stick with it. You maintain your eminent domain, but yet you move forward with other property acquisitions and utilize the tools that you have. And then if that works out and you're happy with it, you stick with it. If not, then you could reintroduce considering an LRA.
City council would have that
Right, that, I mean,
authority
I'm talking about that.
to address the membership composition of the URA and bring in different perspectives, community members, right, that are civic minded. Maybe 1 or 2 members current of city council to continue to serve. And you can structure it in a way, again, that's, you know, nominated by the mayor, confirmed by council, right? So you're always having that.
The same process we do for all of them. Okay, thank you.
If you want.
Are we ready to go?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Burgess.
I just want to say, I know the eminent domain is a critical piece of this, and I don't know all the ins and outs, but just looking at it from an objective perspective, being unique and being the only one that we can find here in West Virginia, where all 9 of us sit on a URA receptive to looking at changes for growth and the betterment of our community and future development. So I don't know what that would look like or how to get from where we're at today to where we might want to be, but I would be receptive for changes to this board to rely on experts, because I'm certainly not an expert in all these fields, to benefit our community.
Mr. Chairman, what's the next step?
What
What would next step look like for us as a city council to say, do we need to continue a conversation? Do we?
If you'd like to have continued conversations, I can work with the chair and vice chair and have those conversations, and we can come up with a draft, maybe. That'd be my proposal, but,
Mr. Brown?
So if we go to this LI, we're going to do away with the urban renewal altogether?
that's an option, but I think what we're talking about more specifically is looking at membership of the URA and keeping the eminent domain powers that you all have currently.
Well,
There's different options. You all can run in two different lanes, right? URA as it stands currently and a completely separate entity.
okay, but if we did this, and we have properties out there as URA, why couldn't we take the properties that we own and give it to the other, an entity you're trying to go to?
You can, most municipalities have, but they have to maintain the property that they've acquired by eminent domain. Whether a month ago or 50 years ago, they can never leave the URA.
But they could develop. Well,
The URA could redevelop those properties.
the LRA could develop it for us, right?
Correct.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Tuck?
It's my understanding that we did pass this already, we just never put it into, we didn't appoint members to the board.
And they
So-
have no budget.
Right, and, would it be possible to get, to update us on that ordinance and
Yeah.
also like what structure, because I know there was a question of the bylaws and things like that, and who could revise the bylaws and who, like what accountability the LRA would have to city council, how independent is it, and how accountable, and just what would those structures be like? Yeah, and the other thing I was gonna say, do we have a copy of your slideshow? Because I think that the more, we can understand the difference.
Is it time to go yet?
So if I could have a copy, that would be, thank you so much for this.
All right, just real quick, how many properties does URA currently have that would be acquired by eminent domain?
By eminent domain, I'm not sure.
We do have some.
Brian, I have a state code on LRA. I know, but I have the code on LRA. I'm ready to fucking go.
Ask one last question. So you had said funding for the LRA, so it would be separate funding than URA. So would it end up costing more money to establish it, or we would just take the URA money and divide it?
That'd be a question for city council.
That'd be more money.
City council to have, at the end of the day, you have the purse strings and you could appropriate money to URA and LRA, continue LRA only, URA only, LRA only. As far as like more money, I don't think so. There'd be no savings to have.
So you could, technically, could you get rid of URA if you still had eminent domain properties, and so you got rid of the eminent domain properties? So you'd always have to maintain a URA?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to get back to you, but most other municipalities, not most, but several municipalities have disbanded their URA. They no longer meet. What they've done with property, I don't know. I don't know what they're.
So we just need to know what we would do with the properties in order not to run dual meetings, dual boards, and dual, to duplicate.
I don't know how we would dispose of the property. Why would I?
Well, it's like they do right now, market it for resale like you have been.
It wouldn't be like over anything.
Oh, no, I didn't expect that, I just wondered, but it could over time, be dissolved.
All right, let's go.
Mr. Chair, I just want to let other council members, the new council members, talk to some of the regular council members. URA just got a budget here. What was it, about 8 years ago? Was it 8 years ago? We just got a budget. The mayor started budgeting for URA because of us demoing houses. And that's basically what that fund was set up with. URA didn't have a budget, and the mayor gave us a budget. Am I correct, Mike?
Yes,
Thank you. Yeah. We never had a budget for maritime choice, and that right there was to tear down houses that, and what, you know, not like.
Yep.
That's basically what it was for.
Are we done?
So next steps, is this something that we should talk, you and me, and Andrew, and circle back to it at another meeting? Okay. So before we adjourn, I want to make one announcement. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Moore.
We have 3 properties that I know of right now that, one, when we sold it to them 2 years ago in one day, they were supposed to build on it, okay, within 2 years. We gave them a 2-year time period. We have another house, another piece of property that we gave them a 2-year. Am I correct on the terrace or whatever?
So, from a perspective, yeah, so this was talking about 2 specific properties. One was on Avery Street. It was sold, URA authorized the sale to a private individual to redevelop. There was 2 parcels run right next to each other to develop 2 single-family detached homes. Nothing has occurred, in over a year on that project. And the other one, there was a property on 26th Street, literally to the day 2 years ago, where the URA authorized that sale. In the minutes and in the motion, it was resolved to impose a reversionary clause. So we will sell this property to you to build a single-family detached home. But if you don't complete the construction of that home within 2 years, the URA has the authority to pull that property back.
And then there's 2 more just in question that's getting ready to come up. We need to make a motion to authorize the development department to contact these 4 people and find out what their plans are, where they are, so he can report it back to us. But we have to authorize him to do that.
I don't think you need a motion, but you can just direct me to do that. In our office, we can, if you'd like, we can reach out to those folks and ask for a status update, see what's going on, if anything has happened, to let you all know, why development hasn't happened, as they said they would.
That's probably the best way to go for that.
Yeah, before we take any action or you can take any action.
Correct.
Okay. That's all right. Thanks, Ryan.
So before we adjourn, I just have a quick announcement. Since council changed the dates for the meetings, the council meetings to the 8th and the 15th, the URA meeting that was going to be held on the 22nd will not occur, and we will just push that back to the following month. So no URA
In April.
May. This time I'll hear any motion for adjournment.
Motion to
So
adjourn.
Thank you, Jesus.
Adjourn.